So guys, according to this article, it says why Fubara cannot go to Supreme Court over suspension. So it's becoming clearer now that the ousted governor has no power to drag Tinubu to the Supreme Court. Now, other governors are now doing this on his behalf. The PDP governors have come together to drag Tinubu to court. Also, Serap has sued Tinubu to court. I'm going to allow you to take a look at how Arise Television crew members, Rufai, Dr. Abati, Oji, Ayo, and the rest of them, the way they've analyzed this. Just take a look for yourself.
The presidency has responded to comments made by former President Goodluck Jonathan and renowned literary icon Professor Wole Soyinka on the recent declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, over the weekend, President Jonathan accused all three arms of government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary of abuse of office, warning that the actions taken by them will have lasting consequences.
The key actors in Nigeria, from executive to the legislature, luckily Senator Binta and others are here, and the judiciary did know the correct thing to do. But they are refusing to do it. They are pretending to sleep. And waking such a person is extremely difficult because the person knows the right thing. A clear abuse of offices, clear abuse of power, clear abuse of privileges, cutting across from the three arms of government, from the executive to the parliament to the judiciary. And I always plead with our people that whatever we do affects everybody.
Whatever we do affects everybody. He especially condemned the judiciary, saying that, especially the fact that their decision affects everybody, especially internationally. He talked about the fact that, why do we think that Nigerians are not respected abroad? It's not just the Yahoo people. Our international passports are regarded because of decisions that are made by the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. In the same vein, Professor Wole Soyinka over the weekend said that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State betrays the spirit of federalism. The playwright made the comment while speaking with the Africa Report, adding that the Nigerian constitution gives the president too much power. He called for an amendment to the constitution. Soyinka also spoke on live television, describing the emergency rule as an excessive measure. Let's take a look.
Let me confess that I was surprised at the ease with which this emergency law, that step, was applauded and passed. And then the critical question, even within the powers of a president under a democratic dispensation, there are areas of discretion. And you're quite right to point out this wholesale suspension of everything to government. I think that's an over excessive response within the rights and the powers. We're assuming now, let's say that the president is constitutionally right, but within his powers, there are also areas of discretion. And I think that the wholesale scuttling of the democratic existence in the rivers was excessive. I think it could have been managed much better, much more economically.
Well, the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Temitope Ajayi, put out a statement, and his statement reads, Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka and former President Goodluck Jonathan are respected statesmen. Like many Nigerians have offered varied opinions on the president's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. The two distinguished Nigerians have also offered their own opinions too. President Tinubu has a country to govern, and he has exercised his power under the 1999 Constitution as amended. President Tinubu has a duty to preserve the corporate existence of Nigeria. He won't allow any part of the country or state to descend into chaos. The Supreme Court ruled that there is no functioning government in Rivers State known to the Constitution of Nigeria. President Tinubu won't fail in his sacred duty to protect and preserve the country. I mean, over the weekend, we saw lawyers debating on the issue and, the ratification of the National Assembly. And we have, come to the conclusion that basically, the 1999 Constitution is what the Supreme Court says that it is, basically, because everyone is coming with their own opinions, with their own interpretations of the 1999 Constitution. Well, in the meantime, the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Afam Osigwe, has called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to reverse his decision on the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State, calling it unconstitutional. Osigwe spoke on live television on Sunday, reiterating the position of the NBA, condemning the removal of the state governor, Sim Fubara. Let's take a look.
For us, first of all, the grounds for the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State were not in existence as at the time the president made the declaration. It is our view that the facts as presented did not justify a declaration of state of emergency. They did not meet the threshold or the facts and circumstances that enumerated under Section 3(5) subsection 2. Now, the next segment is whether, assuming that as lawyers say, without conceding that the president was right in declaring a state of emergency, was he right in suspending the governor and his deputy as well as the House of Assembly? We also went on to say, and still insist, that that declaration too was unconstitutional, because Section 11(4) of the Constitution makes it clear that declaration of a state of emergency does not extend to power of the National Assembly to remove a governor. Now, if you know that under Section 305 subsection 5, the declaration by the president does not really become law until it is ratified by a resolution of the National Assembly. So you understand in what context Section 11(4) of the Constitution says that provided that the National Assembly does not have the power to remove the governor and his deputy.
Another interpretation of the 1999 Constitution by the president of the NBA. Meanwhile, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has sued President Bola Ahmed Tinubu over what he calls the unlawful suspension of the Rivers State governor, his deputy, and House of Assembly members. Sarah wrote on X, breaking, "We've sued President Tinubu over the clearly unlawful suspension of Fubara and Rivers lawmakers." The suit is brought by members of Sarap Volunteer Lawyers Network in the state. Democracy works best when everyone participates. In the same vein, governors under the People's Democratic Party have instructed lawyers to file a suit at the Supreme Court against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to challenge the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. The PDP governors from Bauchi, Adamawa, Bayelsa, Enugu, Osun, Plateau, and Zamfara states are praying the court to declare that based on the provisions of Sections 1, 5, and 305 of the Constitution, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has no powers whatsoever to suspend a democratically elected governor and deputy governor of a state in the Federation of Nigeria under the guise of or under the proclamation of a state of emergency in the state of the Federation by the President. Fubara, however, is unable to join the suit because he would need authorization, according to reports from the current administration in Rivers State, which is impossible because the sole administrator reports directly to the president, who is being sued by the PDP governors. Dr. Abati, I heard you earlier talking about the fact that the governors should also react. We're seeing these new information here saying that the PDP governors are ready to go to the Supreme Court, which I applaud, because over the weekend I read somewhere that the Nigeria's Governors Forum are deciding to stay silent because they don't want to pick a side. But it's good to see that the PDP governors are going to the Supreme Court. Before I come to you, Dr. Abati. Meanwhile, a 2023 video showing a former governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Raji Fashola, narrating how President Bola Ahmed Tinubu fought to restore a former governor of Oyo State, Rashidi Ladoja, who was impeached by Oyo State legislators and forced out of office in January 2006, has surfaced online. Well, Fashola described Tinubu as a champion of oppressed people who made moves to ensure that a sitting governor was not left impeached. Let's take a look.
When Governor Ladoja was removed as governor in Ibadan by an apparently illegal impeachment process. It was to Lagos that he came, and I know, and I will say no more about that part. He said, just bring your constitution, bring your law books. I need you to research something for me. When I got there, what he said to me was, are we just going to fold our hands and let a governor in Nigeria be impeached and nothing will happen? And I said, but he's in opposition. It doesn't matter. What can we do? Call your colleagues. And it was in his house, in that body law, that a group of us lawyers sat down, prepared the court documents, and it was that case that went all the way to the Supreme Court. And Ladoja was returned back to office before he finally lost in the re-election. That wasn't his cause. That was an opposition governor. But that is the man, the champion of oppressed people.
Tinubu, champion of oppressed people. That's how former Governor Fashola described it. And you know, Dr. Abati, if you recall, I believe Ladoja had given an interview back in 2019 saying that it's because he had told Obasanjo that he wasn't qualified to run for a third term, and that's why he was impeached. Go ahead.
Okay, certain things we're dealing with here. We're dealing with politics, we're dealing with law. The PDP governors who say that they will go to court to challenge this, I think it's a welcome development. I've made the point again and again that we should test that Section 305 because all kinds of persons, including roadside mechanics and vulcanizers, have been interpreting Section 305, and even lawyers, including ambulance lawyers, have been offering their own interpretations. The best way to resolve this would be to go to court. Now, who goes to court? I think the PDP lawyers, you know, or any other, the PDP governors or any governor will have the locus to say we seek an interpretation of this section of the Constitution so that we don't become also victims, some kind of preemptive move. The second thing about Governor Fubara saying he cannot go to court because there's another government in place. Well, the issue, the major injury in this particular case will be to the Plateau State government, to the Rivers State government, whose executive and legislature has been suspended. So he's on his own now saying he doesn't have the locus to go to court. But he can also go to court to assert his own fundamental human rights. And say that his rights as the elected governor of the Rivers State people have been violated.
Yes.
So if he says it's only the state that can go to court, that is not true. He may be referring to Plateau State government versus Attorney General of the Federation, in which the Supreme Court decided the matter on the grounds of technicalities. But his own rights have been violated by the President of Nigeria and the federal government. And he can also seek an interpretation. In that regard, SERAP, well, the issues that will come up with regard to SERAP will be locus standi and also jurisdiction. We do not know the court that SERAP is going to, but of course they cannot take the federal government to the Supreme Court directly like that. However, the second issue popping out of what you have pointed out is the issue about the irony surrounding President Tinubu's, declaration of emergency. Yes, President Tinubu, as pointed out by a former governor, former minister, was a champion of democracy. He was part of the June 12 struggle. He even helped to fund the June 12 struggle. He may also have intervened as, the governor pointed out, the former minister pointed out, in the case in Oyo State, which was eventually decided in favor of Ladoja. Now, the irony that people are pointing out is that the same man who was a champion of democracy, who in fact in 2013, when President Jonathan followed the Constitution and did not import into the Constitution what is not there, is the same man today who condemned him that time that is even doing something that is worse. This is the issue. So BRF, former governor, former minister Babatunde Raji Fashola, is right to say, yes, this man was a champion of democracy. But if you look at the timing of that interview, that was. And the Nigerians are saying, well, President Tinubu has disappointed us by taking this line of action.
Right.
As to the intervention by President Jonathan and Professor Wole Soyinka, it's as follows. I think that, President Jonathan has taken a very courageous stand in this matter. And it is most unusual because ordinarily you will not criticize a sitting president.
And he said that,
But he has chosen to do it because he considers it, something of moment, something very serious. And he talks about abuse of power, abuse of privileges across the line, and that the judiciary has been compromised. That can only come from a man who is speaking as a statesman and saying, look, let's apply caution. And he didn't directly mention President Tinubu's name, but anybody who is intelligent enough, will see that he was making a very valid point. And what we expect is that President Tinubu will listen to these voices of reason and see reason, to reverse himself on the question of Rivers State. Even if he's still going to uphold the state of emergency, he can return the democratic structures that were there before and then still have that state of emergency as Section 305 allows him to do. As Alpha Mosigwe pointed out, there's no part of the Constitution that gives you absolute privileges or powers. And the thing is that even under Section 305, the president does not have absolute rights to declare a state of emergency. That's why the matter had to go to the National Assembly, the same National Assembly that has shown itself to be a rubber stamp assembly.
All right.
Finally, I end with the comment by Professor Wole Soyinka. Professor Wole Soyinka is over 90. I see some nitwits, some dimwits, saying, oh, Professor Soyinka should speak. Professor Soyinka has not spoken. Now, Professor Soyinka, at over 90, has spoken. And he has said, look, this is a violation of the federalism principle. This also is an abuse of power. That's simply what it means when he says the action of the president was excessive, and that the president does not have any absolute right to shut down democratic governance in any part of the country. I hope the young people who have been criticizing Professor Soyinka will know that he has spoken up and that they too, as citizens, have a right to speak up, and that we should not leave it to, people who are nearing 100 years of age, while young people are just, dropping the ball. And that's why I think the young persons in the PDP, the PCPDP, professionals, concerned professionals in the PDP, they have acted right also in condemning this.
All right. Well, let's take more reactions. I read a back page column of Simon Kolawole on This Day newspapers yesterday, and I'll read an excerpt of it. He titled it, "Ladies and Gentlemen, It's All Politics." Are we really surprised at Tinubu's action? He's a godfather himself and has quenched every rebellion in Lagos, including the recent attempt to remove the speaker without his approval. Wike is not only his minister, but also played a key role in weakening his own party, the PDP, in the 2023 presidential election to help Tinubu. Wike is also holding down the party ahead of 2027. So there are no prizes for guessing why Tinubu is in his corner. As Olusegun Adeniyi, the frontline columnist, wrote, Fubara and his advisors failed to reckon with federal might in picking his fight. In the words of Bolaji Abdullahi, the former youth and sports minister, Nigeria will always defeat you. And I wanted to just pull up this picture of the day, that has been trending. And it's a picture here with the caption, "Shutting down democracy, one state at a time." And we see President Tinubu there. I think this is posted by Asukwo
is the cartoonist of
yes.
Business Day. Yeah.
I mean, quite apt, really, quite apt. That's the picture of the day. Well, another reaction that trailed the story is a video showing the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, threatening to cause political crisis in the state of any governor who tries to interfere in the affairs of the People's Democratic Party in Rivers State. Wike made the comment in Port Harcourt at the PDP Secretariat during the party's state congress in August 2024. Let's take a look.
I hear that there are some governors, who say they will take away the structure and give back to somebody. I pity those governors because I'll put fire in their state. When God has given you peace, you say you don't want peace. Then whatever you see, you take. Prepare, because I have the capacity to also do the same thing in your own state. Whether you are from Bauchi, I don't give a damn. Whichever state you come from, as far as I know that you are trying to put yourself in River State, your hand will get burnt. And you will never sleep in your state. You will never do governance again. You will see political crisis. As far as PDP is concerned.
All right. Here is FCT Minister here, Nyesom Wike, and that video was trending because, you know, one of the reasons that the president gave was that the imminent danger was, you know, whether or not Fubara was threatening violence in the state and encouraging the young people to blow up pipelines. But we see sitting minister here, you know, threatening fire and brimstone, threatening to cause political crisis in the states of any governor that is trying to interfere in the rivers crisis. Now, this is to the PDP governors who have now gone to the Supreme Court. Be careful of, I guess, Governor Wike, because he had threatened before, and I don't know what that threat means. But let's just sum this whole story up with this video showing when the former Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, and his supporters were celebrating after INEC declared Sim Fubara the winner of the Rivers State election in March 2023. Let's take a look. Then they fear you, Wike, they fear you. I mean, that was then. You saw Fubara there, you know, basically prostrating, you know, thanking, you know, the almighty Wike at the time.
When the going, it's going good.
Oh, I like that song.
Every people, we call your friend.
Yes, I like that song. Rufai will always sing. Well, is it this...
Higher. So a couple of things.
Go ahead.
Number one, I'll go back to that. Dr. Abati has talked about the legalese. Fubara has a right to sue, violation of his fundamental human right. But you see, this champion of democracy narrative, yes, he fought in June 12 and all of that. But I have a different opinion as regards what former Governor of Lagos, Fashola, was saying. The reason why the likes of Governor Bola Tinubu fought the impeachment of Senator Rashidi Adewolu-Ladoja was not because he wanted to champion democracy. It was because Obasanjo was involved and he was fighting Obasanjo. Let's not forget, because Senator Rashidi Adewolu-Ladoja was part of those that benefited from the Obasanjo run of the Southwest that pulled out most of the governors of the AD then, like Lamidi Adesina. So he had just benefited. So it was not because he loved democracy so much that he was fighting for a PDP governor. Okay. It was because he was the last man standing from that raid, and he also needed to consolidate and assert. So the enemy of my enemy was my friend. So that was the reason why he fought in all those battles. There was also a technical position into it. Secondly, both parties, both Wiki and Fubara, threaten violence in this. And that's why I keep asking one question people have not been able to answer. What was the imminent threat of danger? Was it the fact that Mr. Fubara had written letters? I'm happy they played that video. In that video, Governor Wiki also threatened the Ijaw people. What was the imminent threat of danger? Because Mr. Fubara had written a letter after that Supreme Court judgment, and he was the one calling for peace. The only part I faulted him for was when one of his stumps where he said, oh, you know, I'll tell the boys what to do.
At the right time.
At the right time. Which, a day after, he even called for peace when they were giving platforms to the Air Force or something. Helicopter platforms or thereabouts. So, when you look at it critically, what was the imminent threat of danger? Was it the fact that Fubara started listening to the courts, dismantled the local government structure, said they should go for new elections, taking his paper to the National Assembly, the State House of Assembly, even going there to say, okay, where can I represent my project? Was that the imminent threat of danger?
All right. Well,
because all of a sudden, those that also claim that, oh, since this administrator have come, have emerged, this sole administrator, things have stabilized. And that's why we talked about also the Soku incident yesterday. In all of this, I would also like to disagree with Mr. Samuel Kolawole. And I'll tell you why in that article. And the fight about, oh, when you are fighting federal might and all of that. No. And when he was talking, I don't know that particular line where he said, when you are fighting, no, it's on the second line. It's on the second slide. Yeah, so where he was talking about, okay, as he wrote, Fubara Inverter failed to reckon with federal might in picking his fight. No, because one of the reasons why we, and I also mean myself, openly came out to praise President Tinubu then, because we know him to be the man that fought federal might.
All right.
All these things Chief Olusegun Obasanjo planned with federal might then in the Southwest, he was the only one that outmaneuvered Olusegun Obasanjo. That's what we knew. So we've had.
It's called the last man
standing. The last man standing, the lion of Bodilon, Jagaban Baba.
All right. Well,
so, and that's why we praised him to the high heavens there. But it is sad that all the things he fought against, he has now negated today. And that's why we are also calling him out.
Fubara stand up as a man.
All right. That's
stand up as a man.
Well, Rufai, let me answer some questions that you asked. And this is some questions that we have had conversations about.
Fubara. Like
who? Fubara. How old is Fubara?
Let him stand up as a man.
You are asking about the imminent threat of danger. Yeah. Some people might argue that it is because there was a threat to federal installation, which is, the gas pipelines, which, imperils on the Nigerian economy, which is fueled by oil and gas. So that's one of the arguments, thereof. But before I come to you, Ayomide, we have seen that Governor Sim Fubara has made his first public appearance since his suspension from office following the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. Fubara was spotted on Sunday at the headquarters of the Salvation Ministries in Port Harcourt, where he attended a worship service. That's Fubara there. Ayo, go ahead. Unpack some of these stories really quickly.
Okay, let me come to Governor Sim Fubara. And I make bold to claim that, hate him or love him, President Tinubu, when he was governor and even now as president, is a master strategist. You might argue about the way that he's gone about it. And I say this because right from the very beginning, there were calls for Governor Fubara to be the governor. There were calls for him to stand tall and really take on his state. I say this because now that everything is happening, he's always positioned himself as the man of peace. He told that there's a good part to that. When it comes to politics, governance, and leadership, that sometimes you have to put on your tough man boots and actually, take charge. And that's where some might fault him. I read Mr. Bayo Ononuga's article also in the back page of this day newspaper today. And I saw where he was coming from, where he said that, Rivers was in a grave situation, combatants refused to allow reason to prevail and all that. And this is why, for today, I'll also bring in the complicity of the PDP as a party, its failings as being able to organize and support in what was happening, even whilst it's sad. Because yes, you can say, President, rein your minister in. But Governor, at least to the best of our knowledge, Nyesom Wike is still a member of the PDP. Governor Fubara is a governor of the PDP. Why couldn't the PDP internally sort out their issues? Because when you don't, and that's what we said, a party divided against itself or a family cannot stand. So the fact that they could not solve their internal issues made it possible for outsiders to come, interfere in your state, and now you're crying wolf, it's illegal, it's illegal. Why didn't you do something about it then? When 2 members of your party were destroying a state and putting the members of the state at in such a difficult position, such that a state of emergency had to be called. It's not just the president that will point fingers at, even the PDP as a party. So going back to, the governors are now coming out to go to the Supreme Court, I'll wait and see if they end up doing that. The PDP as a party has failed its members, it has failed its governor, and now when it's almost too late, coming out to say that we don't accept this, they should have done that when we're calling for disciplinary actions against Nyesom Wike by his own party, against his fellow party member. So it's really sad that this has happened. We still maintain our stance that the president should listen to the statesmen who have come out to speak against his actions. And even though he wants to continue to move on as a champion of democracy, this particular action might ruin his legacy as being that. So he might be Jagaban, he might be last man standing etc. But this particular action would stain his image as being the champion of democracy.
All right. Well said, Joel, and thank you for your submission. Dr. Abati, yours was pro bono, right? And Rufai, is it pro bono as well? I doubt it. Well done. Thank you all. Now let's take our good news report. In Akwa Ibom State, where the state governor, Pastor Umo Eno, has rescued a business owner after she pitched her business idea. The business owner spotted the governor during an empowerment program and went on bended knees to present her challenges to the governor in an emotional plea, as we'll see in this video that has made the rounds on social media.
What's your problem now? Calm down. Can you calm down? Stand up. What do you want? Calm. What do you do?
I am into production, dry food, cassava into fufu into powder, then banana.
Where is the business?
For now, I don't even have a shop. I produce from the house.
Show me a sample.
I stay with my products. This is Tiger Nut.
Calm down. Why are you crying?
I stay with my credentials. I have registered business name, but I don't even have an office for now.
And you are the one that produced this?
Yes.
So how much are you looking for? How much are you looking for? 2 million.
Yes.
Okay. Where is the Commissioner for Trade and Investment? Please take this. Take her number. Go and see what she's doing. Help me set her up. When you set her up with equipment, maybe 3 million for equipment, you give her 2 million.
Oh, this was so emotional, really. It's been trending all over the weekend. We know that the governor, who is passionate about promoting entrepreneurship, gave out over 10,000 sets of equipment to 2,000 entrepreneurs under his Arise Entrepreneurial Equipment Support Scheme. He also awarded a female truck driver 5 million naira for daring to venture into a male-dominated trade. I mean, this Arise program, we saw that. It was beautiful that he was able to empower his people right there. Dr. Abati.
You know, when Governor Umo Eno assumed office, he talked about happy hour.
Yes.
You know, and we had criticized him at that time.
Yes.
Saying that this happy hour, I hope it's not going to be a babulous Bacana revelry of Akwa Ibom people on Fridays.
Right.
You know, but what he has done now, this is a real happy hour.
Yes.
And it is the kind of happy hour that we endorse.
So guys, you have seen it. It is now clear that the ousted governor has no power to drag Tinubu to court, especially to Supreme Court, where he can get a final judgment. And I'm going to be reading out this article that says why Fubara cannot go to the Supreme Court over suspension. It says a Supreme Court ruling in 2006 effectively bars similarly Fubara, the suspended governor of Rivers State, from approaching the court to seek an enforcement of his right, the Cable report. So it means that this governor does not even have the power. Oh, no wonder they went hard on him, you know. They must have known that he does not have the power to drag Tinubu to court. So they felt the best way is to oust him, to remove him, so that he will just be rendered powerless. So as it stands now, Fubara has been rendered powerless by the Supreme Court's ruling in 2006, you know. And that is why people are commenting, people are lamenting over what Tinubu did in Rivers State, saying that they ended democracy. And also, like you've heard, that Serap has taken Tinubu to court, but it appears that it's not going to be very effective. And also, the PDP governors have come together. But the question remains, which judge is going to rule? Which judge is going to deliver judgment? Say, it's the same all these judges that are loyal to the APC government. Are they the ones to rule against the PDP? They will always find something to dangle around, you know, and give you one unbelievable ruling. That is the Nigeria of today. Anyway, let me read further from this article. It says, however, he can initiate an action at the Federal High Court, but chances of speedy resolution are bleak, according to lawyer who spoke to Cable. You see, he can go just to a Federal High Court, and they may want to drag the process, so that Fubara will just be frustrated. And it went further to say, in a live national broadcast on March 19, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu announced the 6-month suspension of Fubara, his deputy Ngozi Odu, and all members of the State Assembly. Fubara is a member of the leading opposition party, the PDP. So you have seen it. That's where this article ends. It's now saying that Fubara cannot take Tinubu to court because of the ruling that was once delivered by the Supreme Court that bars him, you know, from doing anything like that. So you can see that there's no hope for Fubara now, except other governors, like the PDP governors or the South governors, except they all come together and say they are going to see to the end of this issue. They decide to go to court to fight this on behalf of Fubara, because it's Fubara today, it might be tomorrow another person. So people should not just take this and just be doing it as if it's just a PDP affair. It can be, yes, it's today it's Fubara, tomorrow it might be another governor. And that is why everybody has to wake up. Every hand has to be on deck, you know. Every hand has to be on deck to make sure that Tinubu does not destroy democracy, because it appears democracy is now collapsing in Nigeria at the hands of a man who said he fought for democracy, who said he resisted Abacha's military rule, who is a member of the Nadeko group, who said he has come to for a lasting change in Nigeria. But you can see that these people, they don't mean well for the country. They are just there for their own personal gain. So for people who were saying that, oh, Fubara went to church instead of going to court, you can see that Fubara does not even have the chances of taking Tinubu to court, according to this headline that you have seen that says why Fubara cannot drag Tinubu to the Supreme Court. So guys, that is it, and I think that rests this case. Anyway, you have heard how Arise Television crew members have analyzed this, saying that Fubara has the right to go to court to say that his fundamental human right has been violated, just on that basis. But if it's for him to drag Tinubu to court, why did Tinubu remove him? Fubara does not have that chances. So that's why this case is really somehow, you know, and that's why people are lending their voices that democracy is being destroyed, the judiciary has been compromised, and people cannot come and invest in Nigeria because we have a compromised judiciary. And I hope that message sinks into the minds and hearts of the Nigerian leaders who think they can use the judiciary anyhow they want it. You know, why are people not coming to Nigeria to invest? You know, if people are coming here to invest, it's going to boost employment rates. People are going to be getting work to do, keep themselves busy. But today, people are not working. Criminality everywhere. And they tell us that they have a plan. The APC has no plan for Nigerians, guys. There's no plan. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell. Please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to others. And drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you.